Hi, I'm Deanna Sidoti, a yoga for back care and scoliosis specialist, and today we're going to dig into a 10-minute practice geared towards yoga for scoliosis. As you can see, I have taped my curves. I have a left thoracolumbar curve and a high right thoracic curve. With scoliosis, if you don't know your curves, that's okay. You can practice as symmetrically as possible today. And if you want to learn more about what your curves are, feel free to reach out to me or get x-rays and talk to your healthcare professional. So we will start with a block and a chair. If you don't have a block, you can still do this without it, but you may want to order one and come back to this practice. And the little details are where the magic is at. So I want you to just kind of start with sensing, are your sit bones, those pointy bones at the edge of the seat? Okay, so if you don't know where your sit bones are, they are called your ischial tuberosity. They're those pointy bones that if you're sitting on a hard chair, you'll feel them. And then when you are here, instead of rounding your back, lift your chest, and we'll start with a knee cup. So this is just to teach the body not to lock in the knees. So just for a second, lock to feel what not to do. And then push your tented fingers down and your knees up to activate the backs of the legs. And we're just going to do that 5 times. Resist your knees up and your hands down, equal opposite action, so that you're creating some isometric contractions, some waking up in the backs of the legs. Last one. Okay. And now for this next part, you're going to take your block and place it at your shin with the toes up the wall a little bit. And you want to line up your front heel with your back arch. So if you have a line down the middle of your mat, your heel and your arch will both be on that line. Now I don't want to push this leg forward. I'm going to let this hip come back and make a little wrinkle in front of my pants crease here. I also don't want to sink one side. So my right foot is at the wall. I'm going to lift my right hip point up. Then you'll reach your arms up if it feels stable. If it doesn't feel stable, keep one hand on the wall and lengthen the sides of your lumbar. And just feel for a second, what is it like when you sink? What is it like when you just imagine connecting the legs to the hip sockets like a plug and an outlet and get really long? Pretend you could just make a space between 2 vertebrae in your lumbar. Keeping this lift and length, open your arms. And now my right curve, my right leg is on the wall, is going to want to sink towards the wall. So I'm going to say, no, 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 hug in, go up and lengthen. And then give yourself 3 breaths, sensing the ankles connecting to the knees connecting to the hip sockets. And again, instead of sinking and compressing in your habitual compression patterns, if you have them, you're going to make a space in your lumbar. Lift your ears, lift your crown. To come out, grab your block, press it into the wall, parallel your feet, and step out. And then I'm going to have my back to you for a moment. So a very common thing is to push the head forward or to push the hips forward. So be aware that you're not putting those kind of patterns onto your poses. So just like we showed before, instead of pushing this hip forward, I'm going to press this hip back. Instead of pushing my head forward, I'm going to lift my ears up, get really tall, and use the arms to help you lengthen. So instead of sinking, now my left knee is at the wall or at the block. I'm going to lift my left frontal hip point up and press my right thigh back. See if just that little detail helps you get connected to the legs. The first principle in back care is connecting the legs to the spine. Lengthen, get even taller. Keep the length as you open the arms. And now my left curve is close to the wall. Instead of sinking my curve to the wall, I'm going to hug that curve in and up. And I can even touch my back and say, instead of sinking, lengthen. So you're just talking to your body and asking your body to create space. Notice if your head is pushing forward. Keep your ears up and the back of your skull in line with the back of your pelvis. And I'm actually working pretty hard. I was starting to break a sweat there. So when you come out, you just press your block into the wall and come on out. This next one is triangle pose with a chair, Trikonasana. So when I come into this one, I'm going to take my hand to the chair, bring my knee pretty close to the chair, and if the seat is too low, you can always come higher up, and turn your back toes in and your heel out. So it's okay to let this hip come down, and then karate chop your chair. So just like we did before, I don't want to lock the knee. I'm going to find my knee cup action and engage the back of the knee to the front of the knee. And you may be able to see that gave me more support for my spine so I can distribute my energy instead of sinking into my patterns or my habitual patterns. I want to create a new pattern of creating space and length. And now my right curve is on the bottom. So instead of sinking that curve down, I'm going to hug that curve away from the floor. Now my thoracic curve is a right curve. So my right arm is my curve arm. My left arm is my concavity arm. When we're talking about the arms, we're talking about the thoracic curve. And when we're talking about the legs, we're talking about the lumbar curve. So my concavity arm is up. I'm going to reach that arm up to stretch my thoracic concavity. And then connect to the legs, bring the arm back, and just take that hand 1 inch off the chair. And now I'm really working the left side of my back. Both sides of the back need strength, but in different ways. So this is why it's really important to work one-on-one with a certified yoga for scoliosis teacher if you are working with curves and concavities. It makes a big difference if your teacher can see you. And I do online classes as well as in-person classes, so I can see you. All right, now when you come out, you're just gonna slowly press into the chair, step out, or come out however feels comfortable. And then we'll switch sides. So now when my left foot is under the chair, same thing, I'm bringing the chair pretty close. I'm gonna turn my inner knee up and let this back leg hip go down a little. Back foot heel goes back. Okay, and then instead of sinking, I'm gonna zip up the low belly, not locking the knee. Find your knee cup. Your leg can be straight without being locked. So it's not bent. It's straight but not locked. And the eyes oftentimes like to go back to being level, so let your head stay in line with your spine. And now my left curve is on the bottom, and my left curve wants to sink into its habitual pattern, which really compresses my lumbar concavity. So I'm gonna hug that curve away from the floor. This is a good bit of effort. Lengthen my spine. And now my curve arm is on top, so I can bring my arm here to hug my thoracic curve in, and then hug my lumbar curve away from the floor. And if I want to add and make it harder, I'm going to scoop my low belly, lift my hand 1 inch off the chair. And now this is strengthening my concavity side, the side that tends to get what we call the sleeping side. It has less awareness, less strength. And again, both sides need strength, but in very different specific ways. And when you're ready to come out, parallel your feet and step out. So now let's start to wind down a little bit. Without locking your knees, lengthen your legs. Draw your right ankle below or above the knee without locking that bottom leg. If you feel like you want to add and your body's asking you to go a little deeper, lift your chest and bend that bottom leg a little bit more. But I'm not here in schlumping, just lifting. If you want to add from there, come forward. Same thing, I'm not rounding my low back. That can push you into your curves, or for people that have other back conditions like herniation, that can aggravate things. And then just switch. Foot above or below the knee. The bottom leg is straight but not locked, or you can bend it. Lift your chest. And sense the sensations in your body. Lifting the chest. And then to end today, we'll come into chair shavasana. So you'll just roll to your side, come to lay on your back, and find your knee crease at the chair edge with your palms facing up. And usually we pad the concavities for a more restful shavasana, or we pad the curves for a more active derotation, which is a totally different part of practice. I'll share that in another video. But for today, just come to lay down and rest. And if your chin is high up, put a blanket under your head. Let your chin come down towards your throat a little. Give yourself 5 deep breaths. Each exhale releasing accumulated tension in the body. Let the tongue relax away from the roof of the mouth. Let the shoulders melt. Let the skin of the face soften. If you have the time and space to stay longer, I highly recommend staying longer. If you're ready to slowly come out, wiggle your toes and fingers. Slowly draw the knees a little closer in towards your chest, and then stretch one arm alongside your ear. Use the strength of your arms to press yourself up, and come to sit either on a blanket or block if your spine is rounding, or come to sit on your chair. Thank you so much for sharing your practice with me. Namaste. Thank you so much for sharing your practice with me. I am excited to support you in your yoga and wellness journey. I have a free masterclass coming up that I will be announcing tomorrow. If you're interested, drop a comment or an emoji below and I will share it with you. And it is focused for people with scoliosis, but it's also for you if you have herniations, stenosis, general back pain, or any type of back condition. And I want to just leave you with this. If you notice that when you're starting to try some of these things, you say to yourself, I can't do this, or I can't focus, can you be open to embracing the qualities of a beginner's mind? Those are things like curiosity, willingness to explore, the ability to flip those kind of thoughts that create obstacles for trying things and say something more like, how can I be open to try this? What can I learn from this? So I will leave you with that. Thank you again, and I hope you have a wonderful, beautiful day.